Hello and welcome to the Quiet Part Podcast Live. Guys, people have been asking for us to do this for a while. I am pleased to say that we are now able to do it. I've got my good friend Michael, who is joining me. We have been doing this for quite some time now, where we talk about the day's news events as told by Tim Pool in his Discord. We cover that. And over time, it has grown to the point where we have additive commentary and some shenanigans, if you will, of what we actually do. And we've decided we need to share this with the world. So here you go, guys. I would like you to welcome Michael. Michael, how you doing today?
Doing fantastic. I got a needy dog just below me, but everything's good.
You got a needy dog? I had a very needy cat earlier. I gave him the last of his food last night, and I knew I had to go get him some more food today, but he wanted the food before I was ready, willing, and able to get him that food. You know, so I was trying to work, do a meeting and all that, and he's sitting here just going, "Hey, you got to feed me." And I'd look at him, and he'd walk off towards his dish. But when I wouldn't follow, he'd come back and say, "Hey, you got to feed me." And the pattern repeated for about an hour and a half, and I finally gave in. I said, "Hey, I'm going to go get you your food, man. You got to calm down."
I'm going to feed you.
So that was my morning. Other than that, it's been a pretty good Monday. So what we want to normally do, what I try to do, is start off with Tim's first segment.
Hell yeah.
And you're gonna notice a bit of a theme with Tim's segments today. They're all kind of focused on one major thing, with the exception of like one or two maybe. But here we go. Let's see if I can do my share screen correctly now. And hey, there we go. Technology, guys. It does work sometimes.
Technology.
Illegal immigrant with blowtorch arrested in LA. Wildfire gets worse. Democrats refuse to resign. Pretty much this title says it all, right? You know, this was the weekend for anybody who's paying attention on X, anybody who's been following this wildfire story, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it came out late last week that there was an illegal immigrant who was setting fires, with a blowtorch, just a little propane torch is what I saw in the video. And the residents of the nearby neighborhood are the ones that actually stepped in and said, "Hey, you can't be doing this. Are you kidding me? Got these fires going crazy. They can't put them out." And they cornered him and stopped him and waited for police to arrive. That's about the story that you remember hearing?
Yeah, and I believe it's been updated too. That particular individual has been let go from custody because the department, which gave a pref briefing on it, said there was no probable cause that he was committing arson. Which is just absolutely fucking wild to me. If that's the precedent they're going to set, then, if there's no probable cause that I'm going to rob a store at 3 a.m. if I have a crowbar and the window's broken.
Yeah, it's really weird because if I'm walking around with a propane torch, I'm intending to set something on fire. I mean, usually I use it for setting the smoker up, getting the extra smoke pellets going, or when I do 4th of July fireworks, I don't mess with lighters. I don't mess with those little punks or whatever. I have an electric ignition torch. It allows me to light many fuses all at once. It's great.
I like to room temperature tuna and then just blowtorch the tuna instead of actually cooking it.
Interesting.
Or Wagyu. It's good. It's good for Wagyu too.
Well, I mean, I suppose Wagyu would be a good way to do that. I prefer to do it on the smoker regardless.
Yeah.
Just cook it for about 45 minutes to an hour and, get it up to probably about 10-15 degrees below the actual serving temp. And then you put the sear on. But Interesting.
Right.
So again, probable cause being what it is, you got somebody in a place where a fire is being started. People can verify fire being started, and dude's got a blowtorch.
Yeah.
It
I just
seems to, it seems to me he has some sort of intent going on there.
It does. And, you know, it is, you know, Tim points out in the segment that it's near impossible to prove that they are responsible for starting fires unless it's literally on camera, because a fire can be started from something as simple as flicking out a cigarette from your window as you're driving down the highway. I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but I've been all over the country. The only two states I haven't been to are Alaska and Maine. And when I'm driving through the Midwest, like Kansas, Oklahoma, it'll literally say on the side of the road, like, do not flick your cigarette butts. Don't do this, don't do that, because of the risk of fire. With, you know, if it's super dry, especially in like North Texas, I think it's the case. They take that shit seriously because that is all it takes.
Yeah, like my last trip where I went somewhere where that was the case. I mean, it was the Pacific Northwest, but they were going through several years of drought at that point, and exactly that. And I would see on the side of the road little fires actually going where they're quickly going to put them out because of
Right.
that exact same reason. So, yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah. And then so with that in mind, right, those signs, what they tell me is that the leadership at whether it's a mayor, county level, state level, they thought it wise enough to at least do their due diligence in warning people by putting signs up. What can be said for Newsom, for the mayor in LA? What can be said about the city board, the city commissioner, with respect to what measures they have taken? Fires in California isn't something new. This is something that happens. They have failed, in my opinion. They have failed to identify the reasons why these fires happen and try to mitigate them in some way. It doesn't make sense to me why they don't build berms that would, like, if fire did start on the side of a hill and it worked its way down the hill to the houses, there'd be like a 10-foot moat that would prevent that fire from, I don't know, just like common sense bullshit that just doesn't register with them, and that I don't personally see having been done at all. So I don't think they'll resign. They should. They don't think they did anything wrong in this particular case, because while there are a lot of failures from their part, it is a fire, and once it's grown and it's doing its thing, and there's not much more that can be done. The after action, like I said last week, right? The after action review is what we call it in the military. Needs to be why this fire couldn't be put out beforehand, how it started, what measures can be put into place to prevent this kind of catastrophe again. And I don't think that the leadership in California is going to give that an honest shake. They're going to sweep this under the rug after the federal government gives them 100% of the value of everything that's been destroyed. And they're going to go on their merry way.
I want to follow up on that last part. The federal government's going to compensate 100%. Are they compensating the individuals or the city?
I guess that wasn't specified.
Because let me point this out. Like, businesses are going to have insurance, maybe. The city is going to incur a lot of costs. I mean, roadways, all the infrastructure is pretty much screwed at this point. But as we've seen in other disasters, you know, Maui, East Palestine, North Carolina, those people were getting what, $750 and possibly access to other loans and funding sources that go beyond that. But if in California they're 100% covering costs, I'm curious whether that means individuals or if it's just the overall city costs.
I would hope it's the overall city cost, because the cost for everything, it would be astronomical.
I believe in another segment, Tim saying somewhere between 150 and 200 billion dollars thus far.
Right. And that's just property. That's not accounting for, you got to think about the homes that have been destroyed too, right? The memorabilia, the collector's items, there's some celebrities that probably got their original first ever, you know what I mean? That shit has value too. And what are they going to price that at? And if that insurance pulled out, you know what I mean? They're shit out of luck on all that stuff. Cars, boats, all sorts of stuff. We're not talking North Carolina. The devastation's the same, but the value of these homes and the things that were in those homes,
much of which is irreplaceable.
Right, exactly. So it's a horrible situation for the people that have lost their homes and even lost loved ones and everything like that. But we know what the problem is. That's irrefutable at this point. There's a fire and they're struggling to put it out. And they need to find solutions quick to mitigate the damage from growing. But there's nothing political about identifying all the reasons why this went wrong and what we could have done better, or what I say we, right? But what the government of California could have done better to mitigate this disaster. And that should be normal. The left doesn't like doing that.
and let me start by saying, I'm not explicitly saying these people need to resign. Now, personally, the buck stops with me. If I'm involved in something, I'm going to take accountability for it. That doesn't necessarily mean resigning, because you might actually lose some valuable insight or information by that happening. The people, and there's a reason I chose this thumbnail image. I wanted to show an actual firefighter fighting these fires, see what they're facing, because the firefighters on the ground, the people Canada sending to help fight these fires, the people Mexico sending to help fight these fires. I believe I saw Ukraine is now sending people.
Yeah.
These people are running into a very dangerous situation where everyone else is being told to get the hell out. They should be commended. They should be celebrated for what they're doing. Now, the reason they have to be doing it, again, Michael is right. After action report, find the cause and stop it from happening. Pretty basic, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we're going to continue into this theme, Michael, because I don't know how else to say it. Newsom announces Marshall Plan for LA 2.0 after wildfire sparking conspiracy fire was intentional. We said it last week. I said it specifically on Friday. You know, it is impressive, you know, the devastation that we're seeing with this fire. So much devastation that, I mean, property values are just plummeting, obviously, because there's nothing of value on the lots anymore. Mm-hmm. And many conspiracies. We're looking at 15-minute cities being talked about. You know, we saw in Hawaii when that happened last year, there were major billionaires buying up land for almost nothing and putting on up $200 million compounds, I believe was what Zuckerberg was doing. And Oprah had a lot. Mm-hmm. People are thinking this is an opportunity for LA to reboot things, get that preferential property value at a low price to get these things in place. I called it a fire sale, quite literally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with Newsom coming out and doing this interview like this, and he's already saying we've got a team in place talking about LA 2.0, all the things we're going to do, the things we're going to. Is this the right time for him to have been saying that?
You know, I don't think it matters, because whether Gavin Newsom wants that or not, massive real estate, you know, companies and all of it, they're going to be vying for that land now. I guarantee you that it's much like what happened here when I was down in Southwest Florida during Hurricane Ian. Not even a week after the fucking hurricane, these people are in, hey, we'll buy your property. Let us know what the insurance company says about rebuilding your home. And if you don't like that, we'll give you more for your property, so that they can buy it. Like that was the biggest concern about Fort Myers Beach, was that all this property that was now destroyed was going to get bought up and turned into massive high-rise condos, which would dramatically decrease the value of the property that's a little more inland, just on the other side of the road, because now you got a big high-rise blocking your view of the ocean. And so whether Gavin Newsom intends for that to be the plan or not, or whether there's some big conspiracy to turn LA into a 15-minute city or whatever, is irrelevant to me, because these companies, these massive Fortune 500 companies, are probably already on the ground scouting out what they want to do, or they've had a plan in place. I think would be naive of us not to think that even if it is complete happenstance that these fires started, whether it's a lightning strike, a broken power line, whatever, that some executive at some massive real estate firm is like, hey, if LA gets wiped out, we want all of that land right there. And as soon as it happens, then we're ready to act. We have a plan in play. We will try to purchase that land from the owners, and all of that. So
now, what would you say to I'm going to call it the people that are on the west side of the PCH, those houses that have been destroyed? And, this isn't new for them. This has happened in the past, where bureaucracy and permitting hasn't allowed them to rebuild homes in the past, but they're now saying they're going to waive some of that bureaucracy to allow this construction to happen.
Mm-hmm. So, that it's dumb. It's who is it? Adam Carolla, basically. I think it was Adam Carolla.
Probably.
He spoke to this last week. He's like, everyone that's on that side of the road, it might not even be worth trying to rebuild their house because of permitting, because of the time it's going to take to get permits from the city to meet all the regulatory code. When those homes were built, they were built in a time when California didn't outlaw everything under the sun that could potentially give you fucking cancer. I follow it part of my language, but now I used to do work that required me to go to California, and we had to use a completely different set of material to do the work when we were in California, because the good stuff was outlawed. You weren't allowed to take it across the border. If you got caught using it, you'd be fined and arrested. And so there are significant challenges to new construction in California. If they waive it just to recover from this, but then maintain that standard for everywhere else, I think that's bullshit. That's a double standard that I don't agree with. It means that any company that goes into LA to help rebuild is going to be making a killing in profits, whereas all the other construction and labor companies in the industry in California continue to suffer.
Well, they did say as part of this whole plan, there's going to be price gouging controls, and that kind of concerns me a little bit too. Now, I'm all for preventing price gouging. The everyday average person who's losing their homes in LA, they're not going to be able to pay top dollar to guarantee a construction companies out there in 2 weeks starting to clear the rubble and get started, right?
Mm-hmm.
These celebrities absolutely are able to do that. The very wealthy are absolutely able to do that. And if they can spend more to get you out here to do it right now, they should be allowed to, but that should be separate from price gouging of the average person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's capitalism at work, if I'm thinking about it correctly, because I have money and I feel that there is a certain level of importance on getting my stuff back, to some sort of normal, whether it's true or not. I feel that, and I believe that I can pay more than the next guy to be able to get that done. That's capitalism at work. It's not right necessarily, but you need to be able to have both that and the protections for the little guy.
Well, it's not even like this is stuff that's it's complicated. If we really are above $100 billion in damage that's going to need to be replaced, That's the current valuation, if I understand correctly. It's
Yes.
not what it's going to cost to rebuild it. The cost to rebuild it could be substantially more. Preventing price gouging, I don't think that California could do that. And the reason for that is because what they're going to prevent price gouging on is the material used to rebuild all the plywood, the 2x4s, the sheet metal, the ceramic tile to go in your bathroom, the city works, all of it, every pour of concrete, all of that's going to be price gouged, right? No, the reason why those prices are going to go up on those materials is for the demand, right? There is an increase of demand now to acquire those materials to start rebuilding. Those materials don't come from California. They come from other states. And those companies that manufacture the 2x4 or the piece of plywood, they're looking to make a profit. If California says, hey, we know that it's going to cost you more to continue shipping more product to California to rebuild, but we're going to limit the value to which you can sell your product here based on the demand and the circumstance, I don't see that working out. I see other states potentially suing California. Unless they can manufacture all that stuff and the building materials and all of that on their own, maybe, but it's a slippery slope. I don't agree with price gouging in either way. Like, it's a natural disaster. It sucks, but that's just the way it is.
Oh, that's actually, I just thought of something else that you're going to have to try to figure out. California has certain regulations on the vehicles that can drive there, specifically the trucks bringing product in.
Yeah.
You know, if they're coming from all over the country, because they're going to have to source from all over the country, obviously. They might have to lift whatever restrictions are on older trucks with worse emissions, because you're not going to be able to get the product there fast enough otherwise. You just can't supply it that way. So there's a lot that California is going to have to do in this regard. So I don't know what to expect, but there is going to be a lot that happens. Before we go to the next story, guys, let me point out one thing. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video with your friends. You want to see more of this? Absolutely do those things. It helps us in the algorithm. It helps get the word out. We do want to grow this. We want to make sure as many people can hear this as possible, because for whatever reason, Michael and I both think that we have something important to say. And when Olivia's here, she's going to have something important to say, because, you know, obviously women have important things to say. I'm joking. So yeah, that's all those things that you can do to help us out. So moving on, next story. Unhinged Democrat quits. Democrats learn nothing from Trump victory, and they double down on woke insanity.
Yep. You know, it's funny, completely unrelated to the fires, but also relevant, right? The big thing with respect to the fires is that no one on the left appears to want to identify the different issues that resulted in the response that we saw for the fire, and perhaps, you know, do that after action review in identifying ways that they could be better in preventing fires and stopping fires. Much like this segment, right? Oh, let's not actually dive deep into why we lost the election and do an honest, genuine take on what we did wrong and what we can do differently to win the next election. No, it's just mayhem. It's absolute delusion, even tenfold.
I mean, I saw yesterday and today, okay, one of our favorite people, the Krasensteins, you know, swap one in, whatever, it doesn't matter. They both share the same nonsense. Brian decided he was going to share out a video of that German fellow from the 1930s. I'm not going to say his name because it's not worth saying his name. And he goes, this person rose to power, and guess what? He was a convicted felon too. And just drawing all these parallels, but he never mentions Donald Trump. He's very careful not to say Donald Trump's name in comparison to this person, right? And then people in the comments are obvious. obviously drawing that same conclusion, right? And they're harping on him, and he has the audacity to come out. I never mentioned Donald Trump, blah 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 blah. You guys, it says a lot about you guys coming to that conclusion. And it's like, Brian, there is not a single person on this platform who does not realize your dishonest and disingenuous nature here. We know why you posted that person convicted felon when he rose to power. We know why you didn't say Donald Trump's name. You wanted us to draw that conclusion. It is dishonest. And quite frankly, I would ask, okay, if your intention was just to state a fact about this historical event, why have you never brought up these historical facts about this person before? Why have you never said, well, this person was a convicted felon, blah, blah, blah? No, it happens on the heels of Donald Trump being sentenced on Friday. Yep. And you know what he's doing.
It's just, yeah, it's honestly, it's a little frustrating. That's why, I've been kind of maintaining this philosophy for about a little over a month now, that I just don't care what they think. Not anymore. We won.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
If they're going to, between the conspiracies they've brought up about the shootings, the assassination attempt, how the election was stolen and Donald Trump cheated, and all the derangement, quite literally the derangement that just oozes out of their mouth. Unless they're ready to sit down and have a genuine conversation about issues, maybe come to terms on certain things that we agree on, I don't care. A waste of time. They didn't win. And if they continue to shout and they continue to behave in the way that they have been, including the media, I personally believe that is a primary reason why they lost in the first place. So quite frankly, let them be this way, because if they continue to be this way, the moderate people that maybe the moderate Democrats that are right there in the center, right next to the center, they're not having it anymore. You know what I mean? It's people are getting fed up with the bullshit. The Hitler's this, the Trump is a Nazi, clearly not, right? Any reasonable, rational person who goes to work every day and turns on the news for maybe an hour, they don't think that. They're likely being annoyed by that. I think it's ridiculous. And I think that's reflected in the election result. So if they want to continue behaving that way, which is the primary reason why I think they lost the election in the first place, then so be it. We got midterms coming up and another election to win in 2028.
Yeah, let's get the work done and make that possible. Make it a real thing for people to say, you know what? You're doing the job we wanted you to do. You're fixing actual problems. Let that record speak for itself. Don't let the other bullshit distract you from the good work that they are doing. And they are going to try to distract us. Their goal is to throw us off. That's all.
Yep. That's right.
I'm still trying to deal with the fact that, we're going to have to, for the next 18 months, as we head up into the primaries, I was hoping to have a little bit of a break from all the political stuff. And it's clearly telling me that's not going to happen.
Right.
With the election of Donald Trump, I didn't expect that it was going to really die down all that much. But I was hoping it was going to fall off a little bit, and we just know it's not. I can see that already. So,
yeah. This lady in the segment is full blown just off her rocker. There's,
I tried listening to her, and every time Tim would hit play, I'm zoned out immediately. I'm I can't follow what you're saying, because you're just not saying it in a way that's supposed to get my attention, I guess.
Right.
How does that actually work?
Yeah.
We have a great comment from, I don't know who Peter Taylor is, but very true. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And that's what I've been telling a lot of people on X. You know, they comment, say, hey, Republicans, how's your grocery prices? Have they come down yet? And again, it's that stupid attack that happens. Well, no, they haven't come down yet because guess what? Donald Trump is not in office yet. No matter how much they want to blame anything on him right now, he is not in office at this moment, and he can't do anything about it. What's worse, if you're actually really thinking about what's going on, you know that it is going to be 12 to 18 months before you truly do see those prices come down in any meaningful way.
I don't think prices come down at all, to be entirely frank. And Peter Taylor, you are correct. And this is, I personally believe that what genuinely molds and shapes a person to be a productive, hardworking, all-around general asset to society is hardship. To experience some form of hardship throughout your life. If you're spoon-fed from the day you're born and you're given everything on a dime when you need it, you're not learning and developing problem-solving skills. To be able to solve problems for yourself and others is a critical aspect of being a useful part of society. And as technology advances, we get into this environment now where we have a plethora of conveniences that make what used to be arduous tasks significantly more easy. The result of that is laziness, entitlement. People who lack gratitude and aren't grateful for things suffer from this a great deal, like the left. And things will not get better until they get worse. And it's an unfortunate reality. It's the whole conversation of tariffs, for example. If Donald Trump did 100% tariffs on everything that came into this country, yes, it would skyrocket prices overnight and for a couple of years. But the long-term gain from that is more homegrown manufacturing, more homegrown products, more independent America, which is overwhelmingly better than what our current status quo is. So you suffer for a little bit, you have some sacrifice, and then the end result, the long-term result, is prosperity. People don't recognize this, or if they do, they're uncomfortable with it. Donald Trump's first year, I don't think is going to be some glorious, awesome rebound. I think we're going to have a market crash. We're going to have all sorts of crazy nonsense that takes place that people are going to be very upset about. And it's important to remember that what the plan is not for next year. It's for the next decade and the decade after that. So yeah, big stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. And hopefully things can actually get better before we get to that other thing that makes it much, much worse, which is austerity measures, actual austerity measures. We don't want to get there, and hopefully it's not too late. That is a concern if you're really trying to think about it. And I'd like to point out, guys, I'm seeing your comments from X come in here, but I'm not able to reply out to X, so I apologize. So, hey, Biddy, hey, Atmore, hey, Brian, hi, guys. we do see you. It's just I'm not able to reply to you right now. I apologize. All right. Don Lemon goes on unhinged rant after MSNBC host and Obama are civil with Trump. Liberals don't learn.
Chris, I have a question for you. How would you describe the taste of a lemon?
I don't go that it's sour or anything. I actually like lemons, I don't know, kind of bitter, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, sour, right? It's much like Don Lemon's personality. But
it's hilarious. So, I mean, first off, he's late to the game on these comments, by the way, because the MSNBC hosts, they've been civil with Trump for a hot minute now. And of course, Jimmy Carter's funeral, you saw the video and the pictures of Donald Trump sitting next to Obama, and they're having a great conversation. What Obama's laughing at something Trump said. It's very cordial because first and foremost, you're at a funeral. You're not going to be starting no fights there.
Right.
I don't care if you think Donald Trump is that 1930s German or not. There's no reasonable expectation that you would think he was going to start some trouble. Nor is Obama going to sit there and, try to throw shade. Honestly, I think both of these guys, unlike many, many, many Americans, including Don Lemon, have this realization and this understanding that politics is politics and everything else. I mean, we can get along just fine. I can sit and have a good conversation with some of the farthest left people you've ever met. And as long as we don't talk politics, it's perfect. If it goes into the subject of politics, I'm going to say my piece and that's going to be it. But I'm not going to try to bring that conversation there. I'm going to have a good time. I don't want the fighting and arguing to actually happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a reoccurring theme from all the segments before, right? It's, I think the vast majority of Americans, whether they're registered Democrat or not, they're not for this derangement. There is a small proponent, a very small minority of the left that is fueling and pushing this ideology and an idea that, oh, your family voted for Trump, cut them out, right? Like you don't even associate with your own family because of who they voted for. It's nonsense. It is evil. It is like they genuinely believe that the right and anyone who doesn't fall into their specific way of thinking is the devil incarnate. There's not just one Lucifer. It's like maybe 100 million Lucifers. And that's the way that they look at it. Don Lemon is a part of this, right? He's so captured by hate. He is so consumed by hate that he can't fathom that at a funeral for a former president, people would be polite to each other. Like normal people. It is no longer normal to the left for people to just be polite, irrespective of your politics. Their identity and who they are as a person is in part how they identify in politics. Whereas 20 years ago, politics was whatever. You saw it on the TV, you made your vote, and the people who actually worked in politics were political. Now everyone's political, and it's consuming people. The people that tell us that Donald Trump's a hateful person, the right is all hateful, they're all Nazis, are literally consumed by hate. It is projection at a grand scale. It's
yeah. And as Elizabeth is telling us, circulating around the social media, you got AI showing a video of Kamala and Jill having a cat fight. People are trying to create what isn't there. Because why would you not do that, right? It needs to stop. We need to get back to a place in this country where who you voted for does not signal who you are. Donald Trump is not an extension of me, and I am not an extension of Donald Trump. There's many things that I like about him, and there's things that, you know what, I wish he wouldn't do that. But I can say that.
right.
Joe Biden. I do not like Joe Biden one bit. I'm not going to hate him for it. I hate his policies. I think he needs to think things through, or maybe actually take the reins and actually be in charge. But, as a person, I wish him the best. I hope he has a nice retirement. Why can't that be the standard in this country anymore?
Yeah. It's going to end up getting to a point as we continue to win these cultural battles, the little ones, the big ones, whether it's the Bud Light boycott or Target, removing certain products from their stores, music, television, as we win these cultural battles and we start excising DEI from our communities and workplace and start gearing up towards that meritocracy that I think we all envision and want, these people like Don Lemon are going to become irrelevant. And the only traction that they're going to have is from people like us interacting with it, which is, I think it's important to highlight Don Lemon's words and things that he's doing right now, because we're in a really fickle spot as a country. But I think more and more people are starting to see the light, so to speak, with respect to, just because I am an individual doesn't mean that everyone else that associates me is exactly like me. I'm my own person. I'm accountable for my own actions. I'm personally responsible for my own actions. And unless someone helps me commit a crime, there's has nothing to do with them. Donald Trump is the president. He's an individual. We voted for him for whatever reasons that we had. There's certain things we all disagree with, or, you might disagree with, I might disagree with. There's a lot of nuance there. And to just summarize everyone into one camp like the left likes to do, it doesn't work. It's going to push people away from them. And I'm all for that.
Or, as Aaron says, they want the Real Housewives of the Swamp. I would actually tune into that at least once. There's a lot of backstabbing in the swamp. I would love to see that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what do we got next? Democrats spark outrage after funneling donations for LA wildfire relief through Democrat PAC Act Blue. All right, so this is Tim's more in-depth segment where he just really goes hard at it. It's a little bit more scripted and a little bit more nuanced in the argument. So what's happening here? Well, we see things like Gavin Newsom said he was going to build that website to combat the misinformation happening on social media. You can click the link and he's going to give you all the information. This website's terrible, by the way. And Tim points that out. And there's a donate link. It says donate to the Firefighters Relief Aid Fund, right? Mm-hmm. Which is an actual legitimate charity. You want to give to those firefighters to actually get them the things they need, help out during these wildfires. And it takes you to Act Blue to donate, despite there being an actual place you can go to make that donation directly. No, it takes you to Act Blue, where they'll take your donation and they have a little blurb that says, guess what? Your donation is going to go directly to this charity and sometime in the next 30 days. Good deal. I feel good. I gave to the charity, but it's disingenuous for you to say, hey, I'm going to provide you this charitable link, but it's actually going to a Democrat super PAC. Because as Tim points out, there are several things that occur when you do this. One, you're giving them your information for a mailing list now. You're giving them, as they point out, 3.95%. I don't know why they just didn't go with 4%. Fee is not going to your charity. 4.5%. So if you give $100, 4% is going to Act Blue and not the charity. You're paying to keep Act Blue running. Is that what you wanted to do with your donation?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand processing fees and all that are going to occur, but now there's also going to be a processing fee for Act Blue to give that money. That's less money that is going to be going to what you actually wanted to. And this is a good reason to give money. I want to help those firefighters out. And I don't want to send the signal that I support Gavin Newsom or the Democrat political machine by doing so.
I mean, I get donating, sending money, but until we get some clarification on what Joe Biden means by 100% coverage from the federal government. As far as I'm concerned, 100% of all the damage and everything is going to be covered by the federal government, and I've already technically donated with my taxes.
Technically, there's probably even a line in there, Michael, that he kind of skipped over when he said that, where they're also including the money that Ukraine has lost. So this is his way of saying, hey, we're going to guarantee funding for Ukraine for the next 50 years.
Mm-hmm. My stick with the whole donating thing, Act Blue, these things, they're taking advantage of people. In all my years of life, having ever donated to people, whether through a charity, through some organization, or even just in person, it has always not been as fulfilling as when you are physically there and helping and maybe physically do something to benefit another. The things that you don't necessarily talk about might be small, might be big, but giving money to Act Blue, or even giving money to an organization that promises to use that money for the victims in California, I don't trust that, especially California. I already don't trust it with North Carolina, for example, but it's California. Who's to say if I donate $1,000, that's not going to go into the pocket of some illegal immigrant who is here illegally? They won't deport, and
got caught with a blowtorch.
If I had the ability and the financial means to go to California and help clean up, or even work and help rebuild houses, then sure, that's how I would donate. When I was in Southwest Florida during Hurricane Ian, that's how we donated. When I was in Minneapolis during the George Floyd riots, when that was all going on, literally about 3 days later, once it started to calm down, I went into Uptown. I found kiosks where people were standing, handing out water, and asked, how can I help? Right? I didn't give them money. I didn't do any of that because, like I said, every time I give money, it gets wasted. Give it to a homeless guy. I've watched homeless people take the money and promise they're going to go inside to get food, and then just walk off and not take the ramen noodles I gave them to. So Act Blue, I feel like Act Blue is in the news quite often, that there's a lot of corruption with Act Blue. And I wouldn't be surprised if some sort of investigation was conducted.
Well, there was a thing leading up to the election where they were caught doing illegal campaign finance.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing. There's this, and it goes worse because Tim talked about, there's a podcast, Pod Save America, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have donation links, and what it is it's actually two different things that they have. They have the Action Fund, and then they have the Political Action Committee, 501c3 versus a 501c4. And donate to one, it's a tax-free donation. Great thing. The other one is not tax-free, and it's not clear on which one you're donating to, when, and how. Not illegal to do this, as Tim points out, as I have been able to find out. It's not illegal to do the things that you're seeing here. It's just kind of a shitty thing to do.
Yeah.
If I wanted people to fund the podcast here, I'd say upfront and honest, hey guys, that this money is going to go for this purpose, straight out there for everybody. It's not going to be, hey, donate to this cause, and I'm just going to skim money off the top.
Right.
Because I'm an upstanding person and I don't want to steal your money. Maybe I'm weird in that. I don't know. All right. What do we got last here? Sam Harris's brain is fried. Pushes hoax about Trump assassination. Elon Musk calls him mentally ill. Elon told him a lot more in an email. Basically told him to F off.
Yep.
Which is great.
Good.
I like it when Elon tells people to do stuff like that, because you don't expect the world's richest man to do that.
Right.
I mean, He's clearly got the money to do it, but you don't expect him to do that. So
mentally ill that's a good summary.
I mean, we're 7 months after this assassination, and people are trying to do two things. One, trying to memory hole it so you don't remember that this ever happened, and two, for the people that aren't going to forget about it, they're trying to change the narrative entirely.
Yeah.
Don't believe your lying eyes, Michael. You saw it. You saw all the video in real time. You saw all of the stuff come out. But no, trust me, you didn't see what you thought you saw, Michael. What I saw was right, and here's why. That's all this is happening here.
Like, the whole thing is nonsense to me, right? Like, even if it was shrapnel that hit Donald Trump's ear, it is obvious who the objective was for the shooter. And it happened. And Sam Smith himself, in that clip that Tim plays, confirms, like, oh, yeah, I don't want to, like, yes, someone died. There were very real bullets. Okay, there you go. It was an assassination attempt. Why even peddle in a conspiracy theory about the specific nuance over it? Someone tried to kill Donald Trump. Point blank end. Conversation's over.
If somebody had been there to try to assassinate Corey Compertor, you wouldn't have done it at a Donald Trump rally.
Right.
I mean, these people, they don't think through the things they're saying.
They don't.
They don't think through anything, apparently. So you have him with this, and Tim's got to go through, and he shows, the coverage at the time, Brick Suit, another conservative person, goes through, they were talking about the teleprompter screens, and you saw a video on X, you saw all sorts of video. The teleprompter screens were perfectly fine. So clearly this has been debunked forever and a day ago. For this to still be part of any kind of conversation, you actively have to believe that all the video evidence out there is wrong.
Correct.
You have to believe that everybody who's been investigating this has actually put in the work, talked to the people on the ground, looked at where all the breakdowns happened, doing the, as you said earlier, after action report, had to be completely wrong in their assessments.
Yeah. I have read a lot of these conspiracy theories. It's part of what I do, Chris. I follow all the leftists, even the crazy ones, like the most crazy ones, because I like to be informed about what they're saying. They'll never capture me, don't worry. But as a result of that, their conspiracy regarding the assassination attempt against Donald Trump and all their variations of it is less believable, looking at it objectively with all the information and evidence, than a middle of the road capable debater supporting flat earth. Like a flat earth guy, just the average guy, not like the main like believer who could probably articulate and debate. Just like an average guy could make a better argument for flat earth than these people can about any conspiracy regarding the assassination attempt being fake, that he wasn't actually shot or anything. And Brian, you are correct. Literally, just the simple fact that rounds went off in Trump's direction should be enough for anybody to be like, holy fuck, where are we at as a country? How did we get here? Instead, the left is going in an opposite direction of that, almost incentivizing more attempts. These people are evil. Tim likes to say banality of evil. I no longer think that that's the case for the majority of these people. I think they deliberately know. You ever sit down in your chair at home, you're on the toilet, you're in the shower, and you're just thinking about maybe, oh man, that I probably should have said that. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, right? That was probably wrong or whatever. Like we all have those moments where we kind of self-reflect a little bit and question ourselves morally. Well, Chrissy don't. But I don't think that the left does. And if they do, then they know what they're doing is wrong. They know that when they call for, violence, or when they cheer on the murder of a CEO, that it's objectively wrong. So that makes them actually just evil, normal evil, because they're deliberately saying and doing these things. They're deliberate actions. They're just stupid, and they lost. So who cares about their opinions?
If I ever want to sit down and get myself enraged, I care. If I ever want to laugh at stupidity, I care. Mm-hmm. Because those are the only two reasons I would actually have to want to look for their opinions.
You're right. And, I suppose.
At the end of the day, we're going to hear more of this nonsense in 6 months, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. I want to know what the history books actually say, because if people like this get their way, it's going to be a completely different story for all of history. And we can't allow that to happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, Michael, we are getting to be that time.
Yep.
So, first off, I'm going to say to everybody, thank you for tuning in. If you did tune in, I don't know. It looks like we got most of our traffic on X, or most of our comments from X. But we are on Rumble, we are on YouTube, and we are on X all at the same time here. And like, comment, subscribe, share these things with your friends. If you want to see more of this, we will be back again tomorrow, same time. Michael, final thoughts.
Now that I'm fully recovered from my surgery, I'm going to be getting back into the gym and eating healthy again. So get fit, folks. Diet and exercise, and also practice gratitude. Gratitude's super important. Don't just say, "Oh, I'm grateful for having a bed." Like, why do you have a bed? How did you obtain the bed? Deep dive that gratitude and truly understand where certain things come from that you're grateful for. It's a massive mental boost and positive way of just continuing on your life. So that's it.
Well, I'll do it for Brian, even though I put it on the screen. Shameless plug for Sunset Rants, 9 p.m. Eastern. You're going to have to plug us now, man. That's all I'm saying. Practice gratitude, stay humble, eat fit, eat healthy, get fit, all those things. And for God's sakes, guys, let's go fishing. We'll see you later.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, Elizabeth.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. That was a good episode. If you like it, go ahead and hit that like button, that subscribe button, even that notification bell, and you will get notified anytime I release more content. You can also follow me on X at Real Chris Noski. On Instagram, I've now got an account set up there, The Quiet Part Pod, and of course here on YouTube, The Quiet Part Pod. With that, I will see you guys next time. You have a good day.